Welcome back to Let's Not Sugarcoat It. Season 3 is here and we're excited to dive into the core of communication, relationships, and leadership.
We're your hosts, Bella and Lee, a husband and wife duo with a successful business helping couples and organizations get it together to play a bigger game and elevate their relationships and performance.
We believe in keeping it real, so each week we'll bring you incredible guests, entrepreneurs sharing their authentic experiences, along with episodes featuring just the two of us tackling the tough topics.
So, if you're ready to enhance your connections and sharpen your leadership skills, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Not Sugarcoat It. Today in the house, we have Daviana, who is a biological man transitioning into a woman, who has taken over the internet, taken it by the storm with her real, raw, and unfiltered conversations around transitioning, pronouns, children, sexuality, and the big question, what is a definition of a woman? This is a complex subject and a complex topic, and we can't wait to dive into how to live into today's society and how it is for you transitioning from male to female. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your story. Where you are today is obviously not where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Can you give our listeners a little bit, a snippet of what life before this was for you?
Before this was, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I am the youngest of 5, 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters. I have been a strength coach for 25 years, a competitive powerlifter, and a competitive strongman athlete. And before my last competition before transition, I took 3rd place in the nation in my age group and weight class in strongman. So compared to that to now, drastically different. Completely different. And I actually am competing in powerlifting again in 2 weeks, and I will be competing in the men's division, not in the women's division or trans division. I'll be competing in the men's division in my same age group and weight class bracket again. So yeah, that's the comparison of then and now. And I don't like to say that I'm transitioning into a woman. I like to say that I'm transitioning to look as much like a woman and feel as much like a woman and present as much like a woman, because I am very aware of my biological sex and gender, and very much aware that no matter how much hormones I have or how much surgery I have, that I can never be a biological woman.
You're quite vocal online about that. I think it's important to have that distinction of what a woman is, what a trans woman is, what a trans man, and what a man is. Especially now we have children, we have girls, and it's a very confusing world out there where we were doing a Valentine's exchange gift, and one of my daughters didn't know whether or not she could buy her friend a girl kind of gift because she may identify as something else, but she's too scared to ask. And it's just such a confusing world. And I'm finding that our kids are in jeopardy here. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are to, as the old saying goes, it's better to ask for forgiveness than is permission. So like when it comes to stuff like that with today's world and kids, like bottom line is that if you know it's a girl, end of story. And if someone gets offended, that's not on you. That's not on you. It's not on your child. It is what it is. And I think the people of today's world that are allowing their kids to socially transition need to teach their children that they will always be the biological sex that they were born, and there's nothing they can do about that. No matter how they act, how they feel, how they change their name, how they change how they dress, it doesn't matter. If you were born a boy, you'll be a boy. If you were born a girl, you'll be a girl. You can present however you want to, but that doesn't change what you are. And I think that needs to be a very strict point of education for today's youth.
Yeah, that's it's a great perspective, because we're in a society now of if you offend somebody, you're in the wrong immediately. If they feel offended, regardless of whether what you're speaking is
factually true or not. It's really based off offense. And so there's this sensitivity around people not saying things or not risking upsetting others, holding back maybe their opinions because they're afraid of being made out to be wrong. So there's all these sensitivities. And so in a world right now where that is the norm, you are very much standing out. You aren't sensitizing your opinions and your thoughts on this topic. And just before we hit record, you were commenting on the amount of podcasts you've been on, invitations to do some podcasts. Probably got a very large amount of people that are engaging with you on this topic. And so why do you think that is? Why do you think there's all this interest
I think,
in you and what you have to say?
yeah. So from what I've been told, like the feedback I've been getting is that people just really enjoy my authenticity and the fact that I am not trying to steal away womanhood from a woman. I'm not trying to be like, I am a woman. And I'm not trying to be like, get involved in female sports or do anything that's jeopardizing the concept of the difference between men and women. I look at it like the only way for this to really work for everybody is to realize that we are, and when I say we, I mean like, so I'll speak on my behalf and not the behalf of the trans world. I am different from the norm. So my feelings are my responsibility. They're not your responsibility. So if someone, like so many people will come online and be like, oh my God, you've changed so much. You look so beautiful, but your voice is just like, it's kind of like a shock. It's like, we see this beautiful woman and the next thing you know, you start speaking and it's like, oh, and it's like, I'm not offended by that. Like, I understand my voice has changed. It's gotten actually significantly softer from what it used to be, but like, it doesn't offend me. Like, I am aware of who I am. And if it does offend me in any way, that's my problem. It's my job to deal with my feelings. It's not your job or anybody else's job to deal with my feelings. And I think that is something that also needs to be taught. Like, growing up as a kid, it was always, we had that whole like nursery rhyme, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones. Call me this, call me that. You know what I mean? It was, call me this, call me that. Names will never hurt me. Sticks and stones may break my. I forgot how it goes, but you understand what I'm trying to say. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I said it in the podcast I was in last night. I said to the woman, like, when someone throws an insult at you. So for instance, let's take the term, like if I was to call you a dickhead, right? And people would be offended by that. But if you break it down as to what it is, it's two nouns put together to get a prescribed response. Someone's trying to piss you off.
Mm-hmm. I would just take it as like my hairstyle, probably.
Right. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like you can choose to be upset, but that's your choice. That's your feeling. And like, as a strength coach, I didn't baby clients that walked in front of me that had 200 pounds to lose. I'd be like, you're overweight. You're going to die. Like, you're going to have health problems like nobody's business. And some people that would hear me talk to clients like that would be like, don't you think you were kind of harsh? Like, well, you have to be truthful. Because the kinder you are with something and the softer you are with your approach, the less that means to that person. So if I'm telling you you're wrong, but I'm telling you in the kindest way possible, that wrong isn't kind of getting through to you.
Mhm.
You
And there's a room for interpretation. Like, if we are not actually speaking what we mean, we're leaving it up to the person to interpret it in their own way, because we all carry our own filters and our stories and so on and so forth. It all comes down to communication, right? It's how we say it, how we present it. It's up to us to be as clear as possible with the messaging and then check in and say, did you get that? Right? Versus going around and sugarcoating everything. And before you know it, months go by, like you said, with a guy that's overweight. Well, you didn't lose any weight. Well, you didn't tell me I needed to lose that much. I thought I only needed to lose 5 pounds, not 50 pounds, right? So you have to say what you mean.
Yeah, and you have to be blunt about it. So in the Marine Corps, one of the things they taught us was the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Which means keep the message that you're trying to deliver as simple as possible, that the dumbest person can understand exactly what you mean, so that there's no room for interpretation. It's like when someone asks me, like, Well, how did my form look on that squat? It sucked. Not like, oh, it wasn't too bad. You know, you could do better here. It was like, no, it sucked, and this is why it sucked.
Yeah.
'Cause when I approach it like that, they're gonna be like, oh shit, how bad was it? And now they're focused on changing, and now they're focused on the problem. And it's the same thing with today's world, with especially with our kids. Like, think about when you talk to your kids. If your kids do something wrong and you're extremely, extremely nice and trying to be friendly with them and not that parent, it's going in one ear and out the other. 'Cause
Hmm.
they're kids. But if you
Yeah.
sit them down and you're like, look, you can't do that. That's not
Yeah.
acceptable. They kind of
Hmm.
get that look on their face like, "Ooh, all right, I screwed up." And it's like, "Yes, you screwed up. I love you, but you cannot do that." Not like, "Can we try not to do that again? You know, can we talk about it? Can we do that?" Like, no, no, no. Like,
Yeah.
bring back tough love,
Yeah.
especially on a topic as sensitive as this.
Yeah. So you have a daughter.
Yes, I do.
How old is your daughter?
She's 8.
Wow. So how is raising an 8-year-old daughter and transitioning affect your relationship? Because I'm sure there's questions around it. So how are you maneuvering that? In itself is a very complex. Like raising kids is one thing, and then transitioning from
So
a
I think so
dad.
my daughter has been strapped to my chest since she was 8 weeks old. She came to work with me every single day, strapped to my chest for about 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, until she was old enough to go to daycare, which was at the age of like 1.5. And she went for, I think, 2 days a week for 4 hours a day. And then right back to being strapped to my chest again or at work with me. And so she's seen every aspect of how rough around the edges I am, but also at the same time, how caring I am at the same time. And then once this became more of this needs to happen for me, it was about going to therapy and figuring out, before even thinking about coming out, it was going to therapy and figuring out, is this the right thing for me? Is this really what I want? Or is this something else? And then once we figured out this is really what I want and this is really what's going to happen, it was like, okay, now we're going to switch the focus of the therapy onto how do we make this work where it's going to be okay for my daughter? Because if my daughter looked me dead in the face and said, no way, I hate this, I won't do it, I wouldn't be here because my daughter's my world. So she was involved in every step of the process, from voice therapy to going to see the surgeons to picking out my outfits, the whole bit, like everything. And everything was at
Yeah.
her pace. Like,
Yeah.
he literally, after our first day out as girls, it wasn't more than I think about a month later, where I was getting rid of some of the boy clothes in my closet. And she just was like, came into my bedroom. She's like, "What are you doing, daddy?" I'm like, "I'm just getting rid of some of my boy clothes." And she's like, "Oh, let me help." And she started taking things out of the closet. And we had this one outfit that we wore that I wore every single week. It was the same dress shirt, the same dress pants, belt, and shoes. When we had a daddy daughter date, it was like, she was like, "This is what you're wearing." It was her favorite outfit. And I had to wear it every week. She went to grab that off the hooks, and I was like, honey, I was like, I'm gonna hold on to that." And she's like, "No, daddy, you don't need to dress like a boy anymore." And I was just
Yeah.
like, "I love you. You're amazing." And she's been that supportive ever since. And she's had some questions along the way. And before any surgery, she was like, I kind of wish daddy was just my normal daddy. Like, but at the same time, I would sit her down and like explain to her and show her, like, what have you noticed different about daddy? And I would let her answer the questions. And at 6.5 years old, she'd be like, "Daddy's happy. Like, you're very, very happy. You smile more. You laugh more. You spend more time with me. You do more things with me." She knew that my happiness means happiness for all of us. And she's become very supportive in the concept of who I am.
So is there any questions that she brings home? Because I'm just gonna ask questions. I'm genuinely curious because we don't get to ask these types of questions. Because like you said before, people get offended, right? You should know. And I'm like, well, how am I gonna know if I don't ask? Right. So I mean, she goes to school, right? Or are you homeschooling
Oh, no, she goes to school.
your daughter?
She goes to a
Oh,
private
it's good. So
Catholic school.
okay.
So
So
this this
so
this
how
there was a wall there.
yeah. So, how is that for you coming in and her? Is there a lot more questions for her when it came to that? Was the school pushing back?
School didn't push back one bit. And as a matter of fact, so what I did, I went public in between school years, so during the summer. And this was a shock to me. So there's a favorite park that we like to go to, and people from all around the area, multiple towns, come to this one place all the time in the summer, and we're there all the time. So this was one of the first summers we're out. I'm presenting as a female. It's me and her. And she comes running off the obstacle course with two of her friends from school. Daddy, look who's here. And I'm like, oh shit. She's like, we're going to go over there and say hello to their parents. And I was like, oh boy. And now I know the parents because the vacation before summer, the little April vacation, I hosted a kids workout routine every day of the week for them to bring the kids during their April vacation and like unload some energy. I taught some of the kids how to ride bikes, like all sorts of things. So they all know who I am. So I walked over and the parents just looked at me and they're like, it's David, right? And I'm like, yep. I'm like, you got any questions? Feel free to ask. They're like, nope, it's fine. And one of the little girls looked up at my daughter and looked up at me and was like, why is your dad dressed like a girl? And without missing a beat, my daughter was like, because it makes him happier and that's all that matters. And then she was like, okay. And they turned and ran away. And I looked at the other two parents, both women, and I was like, did you just hear that? They're like, yeah. I was like, she's 6. And that just came out of her mouth. It was this brilliant young woman it just makes him happy. And that's the end of it.
Yeah. It's like with children, it is that curiosity. They're just looking for answers, right? But if we
And it's
start
so
making them
easy with
fear,
children because it can be such a
yes.
simple answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be this big, drawn out, like adult answer that you would expect in a conversation between you and I, just being like, hey, why are you doing this? What's going on? And you want to get into the psychology of it and all that stuff. Kids don't need that explanation. And one of the biggest things I try to tell people is like, the easiest explanation for kids is to be like, you know, on the inside, this is how they feel. And what they're trying to do is get their outside to match their inside. That's all. It's that simple. They're not hurting anyone, so it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. But it's true. It's kids just need that simple answer. And how we approach it is how they're gonna then take that into the world themselves. But if
Yes.
at this age, like with our kids, um, you know, the fact that she's afraid to ask says to me that somewhere in there was them being made wrong for asking the questions.
Yes.
And if we don't ask the questions, we can only assume, right? And what's the thing of ask? The first thing is then ask or whatever it is.
That makes an ass out of you and me.
Yeah.
So I think it's just having that conversation, like you said, right? Just open and just being, yeah, this is why, and not pushing that on. I love what you said earlier. The onus on the people receiving it, right? Because we don't know what's inside your head. We don't know what's inside anybody's head. And if we don't ask and we're not met with, you know, kindness and understanding on our end, then that's when the fear comes and then the judgment comes and nobody knows nothing.
Yeah. Or it's, they didn't have the direct experience. I think it might be the same for adults where there's enough on social media now that you can witness somebody responding very negatively because someone used a wrong pronoun or something like that, right? Like they're guessing, they're not sure. And then that other individual is then expressing their offense, then making the other person wrong. And so I think for our daughters, right? I think for a lot of people, it's just, I don't want to upset you, right? Like I'm kind person and I don't want to offend anybody, but then that puts me in a position where it's like, well, then I guess I'm not going to be curious, or like in the context of her daughters, ask the question because she doesn't want to upset anybody. And so I'm in your, like, in your circle inside of your network, like, is this, like, you're very vocal on social media about how you think about these things. Is this, like, Do you know a lot of people that think the same way that you do?
I do, and they tend to keep quiet, which we have back and forth conversations about that because like people tell me all the time, "Oh, I really wish there's so many other trans people had the same attitude as you." A lot of us do. I have a lot of trans friends that feel exactly the same way, and trans men and trans women, but the difference is they're further along in their journey than I am. So, like, I know trans women that are some of the most beautiful, most gorgeous women you've ever laid your eyes on. And they sound like a woman. You would have no idea that you were sitting next to a biological male. They don't want to speak up because they're comfortably living their life 100% passing as a female, being treated kindly as a female. And they don't want to lose that for the same reason why I waited so long to come out. So when I was still married during COVID, I was talking to my ex-wife now, my wife at the time, I was talking to her about wanting to transition, and I backed out of it because of the presence I saw in the trans world on social media. People throwing a fit and getting upset when someone uses the wrong pronoun, and these people having like just unbelievable anger towards being like misgendered. And I just looked at it and I was like, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm like, that's I don't want to be in like I don't want to be labeled as that person. That's not me. And then it took me a few years to get to the point where I was like, you know what? That's not me. That's not my community. I don't have to identify as being in the trans community, being in the LGBTQI plus community. Like, I don't, I'm like, no. And people ask me all the time, they're like, don't you think you're hurting your community? My community? My community is my friends, my family, and my loved ones. That's my community. It ends there. And everyone's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you're trans, so you're part of the trans community. Okay, you're Jewish. Do you hang out with, do you have a community of Jewish people that you spend all your time with? Do you relate to every Jew person in the world? You're Spanish. Do you now automatically relate and have a community of all Spanish people? Is there a community of just straight people? Like there's no such thing. It's
Mhm.
made up. Yeah, you may be able to identify or have some common ground with these people, but they're strangers. You don't know them. I don't know every trans person in the world, nor do I care to. Like I have a
Yeah.
very, very small, tight-knit circle of friends, and that's where I like to keep it. I don't want to have a million friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
my following on social media, they're not my friends, they're my followers, and they appreciate the things that I say. And they appreciate my honesty and my authenticity, but I don't know 99% of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that's
Just like,
not my community.
yeah, I totally feel you because I mean, we went on a girls' trip a few months back and we were called colonizers just because we're white women. And I'm like, I'm actually from Poland and I didn't colonize this country. And one is from South Africa and just because we are white doesn't mean we have to live into that. Like the world is shifting into these labels and blame, and everybody's pushing for I'm the most important. Like before I get, in the LGBT community, before it became all the other things, everybody was just fighting for equal rights, to have a safe space to be who they want to be. And now it feels like it's shifting that we can't be safe in this space unless we know absolutely everything about everyone. Because if we say something wrong, then we're phobic, we're transphobic, we're all these phobias.
Mhm.
And we're just like, I just trying to walk from, my car to the Walmart or whatever, right? Like it's hard to keep up with everyone changing everything. The pronouns with them, they. I'm sorry, like, okay, you tell me you are them, they, but forgive me and don't get mad if at some point I'll say she or he, right? Because it's a pattern. That's what we've been taught. We're not given that grace to make the mistakes and say, I'm sorry. then I don't even know, because it was never a part of our world, but everything's changing so fast. So many letters are added to the LGBTQ plus and all that stuff. It's hard to navigate it all. But I think what you're saying is like having those open, honest conversations. We're not all blanketed as one, and just give each other grace and space and come with love and kindness versus these expectations that you must do this. You have to do. I don't have to do anything, actually. Thanks.
Exactly. And that's what I
Right?
tell people all the time. I'm like, not for nothing, but it's freedom of speech. If I
Mm-hmm.
want to look at you and call you a name, I have every right to do that all I want to. Does it make me a rude person? It might, but I still have the
Mm-hmm.
right to do it. You can't tell me that
Right.
I can't do it. Since when has me speaking my mind about how I feel out loud become something that's a breaking the rule, or something that is wrong, or something that is against the law? In some places, they're starting to try to prosecute you for hate speech, and it's just like that's now you're breaching the concept
What
of
is hate
speech.
speech?
Yeah, and hate
Mm-hmm.
speech can be anything to anybody. It's like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
gone overboard, and I think it takes more people that are of sound mind to speak up. And I always tell people, anytime you approach something or someone different, you approach with kindness and curiosity. And if that person returns the kindness and curiosity, then there's going to be plenty of room for an understanding dialogue. But if they don't return that kindness and curiosity, then just walk away, because like they have their own issues or demons that they're dealing with. And when I see someone flip out about being misgendered, that's when so many people go, "Oh my God, like transgenderism is a mental illness." And it's like, okay, sure. But when you take someone that is more grounded, like I would say I am, when I can understand where I came from and what I am at the core, there's less of a mental illness there and more stability. But then when you take someone that's like, I'm a friggin' woman, and that's the end of it, now we're talking about someone that still needs more therapy. If you can't be honest with yourself, what's the point? My first therapy session ever was with a therapist that literally was like, "Oh, so you believe you're a woman? Okay, great. You're a woman. Let's go from there." And I was just like, "That's it? You're not going to pry into my brain and try to figure out why I feel this way? Ask me about my past, my childhood, like that, just that. It's just, we're good to go." And she was like, "Yeah." And I immediately stopped seeing her, and I got another therapist. So there's a town up here in Massachusetts that's a little bit more rough around the edges, so to speak. And this woman was a therapist, and she's like, "I swear like a fucking trucker, and I'm gonna friggin' call you on all your bullshit. Don't ever friggin' lie to me. I'll be able to tell it. And I have all the degrees to back it up. Now go ahead and talk to me." I literally just sat there and spit out everything I could think of for like an hour and a half. And we got done, and she was just like, "Wow." She goes, "You're the first person I ever talked to like this." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I genuinely feel like you didn't tell a single lie." She goes, "Or stress the truth in any way in your favor." I'm like, "Why would I? This is therapy." I'm like, "I'm supposed to be able to tell you everything unfiltered to get through this." And she was like, "You know how many people come to therapy and don't do that?" I'm like, "What's the point of therapy if I can't be honest with you?" So, and it was having that correct therapist that helped me. And after talking with her several times, she got out of the mainstream of therapy because of the fact that they were taught literally, you affirm first.
Mhm.
Right off the bat, whatever that feeling, you affirm. And I just looked at her, and this is something you can't even say like online, because like you have to use terms like unalive or stuff like that. And it's like, I was like, so if someone came to you and said, "Hey, I have these unaliving thoughts, like, would you affirm those?" And they're like, "Well, no, that's different." I'm like, "How is that any different? You're
Yeah.
talking about someone that wants to completely mutilate their hormones and change their body in a permanent way. How is that any different? You want to affirm that, but not affirm unaliving?" Like, I don't like, and it's the same thing with youth when people talk about kids, and it's just, "Oh, we think it's totally okay for them to do that." I'm like, "So you think it's okay to give your 10-year-old at M16 and have him join the Marine Corps? No. You think it's okay for them to drink alcohol? No. What about smoking cigarettes? No. What about driving a car? No. What about getting a tattoo? No. So why do you want to prevent them from going through puberty and have them cut off parts of their body?" How is that okay?
Mhm.
And they're
And
just
why do
like,
you think
"Oh,
that
it's
is?
different." And I'm like, "No, it's not."
Yeah, and why do you think that is? That there's this kind of, I don't know, cognitive
I think
kind
we're
of
being
dissonance or
conditioned,
yeah.
like being conditioned
I think it has a lot to
not
do
to
with, so
question.
I deal with this a lot. So I would say on average between all my social media platforms, I get between, I'd say 50 to 75 messages a day. Um, and I go through them once every couple of days. And I would say out of those, there's probably at least 2 or 3 a day where it's people that like I really want to respond to because they're asking me about help with their child or their loved one. And it doesn't matter whether it's, transitioning from boy to girl or girl to boy. And one of the biggest things I always get, and it can be for someone as young as 6 years old, like, I love my child and I want to support them 100%. And how do you think I should go about doing that? And I'm like, don't support them 100%. And like, what do you mean? I'm like, they're your child. They're not your best friend. If your child comes to you and says, I want to take puberty blockers and I don't like my boobs and I want to cut them off, I'm like, you don't go, okay, honey, let's look into that. I'm like, no, you don't do that. I'm like, that's what a friend would do. That would be just completely and blanketly, blindly supporting them. They're not your friend. They're your child. Your job is to look after their safety, not to just tell them that everything they feel is 100% accurate.
Do you think there's a fear there for those parents where if they don't support, that the child or loved one in a decision like that, that they'll just go find a community that will support them and then basically cut the parent or the loved one out of their life because they were trying to look after their safety and they're just going to go find somebody that will support them in the yes?
So this is the difference between how kids are being brought up today versus how kids were brought up for me. Like, I don't even know how old you guys are, but I'm going to be 48. So
Yeah,
like,
we're around the same age.
when you did something stupid as a kid, your parents let you know with no question whatsoever. And there was no, oh, well, I'm going to go find someone else that's going to support my decision. It wasn't that way. And it was, if you had one parent that was softer than the other, it was always like, hey, mom, I want to do this. Go ask your dad. You go ask your dad, hey, dad, I want to do this. What did your mother say? She said to ask
Yeah.
you. And then the two of them have a meeting. And the answer is generally always no at that point anyway, because it's like, and it's like you didn't go somewhere else, because if you did go somewhere else and then they found out about it, then you got the wrath again. It's like
Mhm.
tough love needs to be brought back. And the concept of schools and the states and stuff like that getting involved in parenting needs to be a hard stop put to that. My daughter, when we got divorced, my ex-wife was adamant that my daughter goes to therapy. And that was before me transitioning or her even knowing I was going to transition. She's 8 years old. She goes to therapy once a week. And I can't even ask the therapist what they talk about. She's 8. Excuse me? She's 8. You're going to tell me what she talks about as far as I'm concerned. She's 8. Like, I need to know. School systems being like, oh, well, yeah, your daughter's coming in here and she's, we don't call her this name anymore. We call her Brian in school. I'm like, the fuck you do? Absolutely not. No effing
Yeah.
way. Sorry. Not happening.
Yeah.
Parents worrying about their kids not liking them is a real problem. Numerous times, like, we got grounded as kids. And like, if you did something wrong, it was, you got grounded for a week or 2 weeks, sometimes even more. My parents were pretty stern and strict, and you could kiss their ass for those 2 weeks. And it didn't matter. You're not getting off your punishment any sooner. You did the crime, quote unquote. You're doing the time. End of story. That's how you learned your lesson. And it's the same thing with today. I see so many parents like threaten their kids to like, well, if you do this, I'm going to take your tablet away. And it's like, don't make that threat unless you mean that tablet is gone and it's not coming back. You
Mhm.
cannot make that threat and have it be like, all right, I'm going to take it away and put it on top of the fridge and I'll give it back to him tomorrow. No, no, no. If you're going to make a threat like that, you need to stick to it. That tablet's gone. It's never coming back. It's gone. It's done. Throw it in the trash. It's done. It's over. This is the only way they learn lessons. They're not going to learn lessons by you being, okay, well, I'm going to take this way, because it doesn't take a child long to figure out like, they'll just punish me and take this away for a couple days and I'll have it back. And so it's not a big deal. They're not learning anything there. What they're learning is how to manipulate you.
Our
So it's,
girls are great manipulators. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
absolutely. And
We
it's
have
like,
13-year-old twin girls and they know how to play mama. That's for sure.
and you've got to be stronger than that. You've got to be better than that. As a parent, you've got to be able to lay down the law and be like, no, not happening. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no buts. The answer is no. End of story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Dad
I
said,
do love that. I do love the whole what you said about the school system trying to parent our children. I do not agree with that either. I think we should bring back that teachers have a lot more power in keeping children in detention, asking them to leave or put them in the corner, whatever, when they're misbehaving. I had a friend, her kid was 6, and he walked off school grounds, and the principal was calling her and saying, "Hey, you need to come get your kid because I'm not allowed to touch your child." To me, it's mind baffling that we've taken power away and we're just doing whatever the kids tell us. Teachers don't have any power to discipline, yet they have all the power to support them in all the maybe wrong decisions that they're making and not letting us know
yeah.
about it.
And
Right?
the biggest thing that I think is happening, and I think this is happening on so many topics besides just the trans topic, is we no longer hold people accountable for actions. We only hold people accountable for reactions. So like when we were kids, if we got into a fist fight as a kid, whoever threw the first punch, that was who got punished. That was who got detention. That was who got expelled. The other person, self-defense, you're good.
Yeah.
Now it's like, why did you hit them back? You should have been the bigger person and sat there and took your beating. And now you're going to be punished because you hit back, because you should have known better not to react to that. It's like, no. Excuse me. Like, I'm going to teach my child to stick up for themselves. And I'm not going to teach my child to swing first or to call names first, but I'm definitely not going to teach my child to sit there and be a coward. But like, that's the thing. When people look at me like, why would you say such a thing? I'm like, why did you do this? They're like, yeah, but you could have said something differently. I'm like, no, it actually does. Because what you're doing is you're trying to blame me for reacting to your poor behavior. And that's what we've done as a world across the board on everything. And it's definitely a hard thing to get people to come back.
Yeah. It's like codes of conduct are changing.
Yes.
You think about it in the household, there's codes of conduct. There's ways you conduct yourself. And if you don't conduct yourself those ways, then there's consequences. You get in trouble. When you're in school, or at least when we were in school, there was codes of conduct. If you went sideways with those, then you got in trouble. There were consequences. When you become an adult and you get a job, guess what? There's codes of conduct. And so we're heading in a way where I wonder when somebody's not doing their work, or they're skipping, not showing up on time, or whatever it is, and your employer comes in and says, "Hey, you're going to get written up, or we're going to terminate you." Like, what that's going to do, right? Because we're already at that level with teachers, with the generation of kids that are in school, and these exact same kids at some point are going to be getting jobs and working for people, and they're going to have that same attitude where it's like, you can't tell me what to do. You can't put any consequences on me, right?
Oh yeah.
It's going to be
Terrible.
interesting if this doesn't shift, which is, I mean, again, going back to a lot of the things that you were raising and talking about, besides awareness, creating a space to have the conversations. What do you think are some of the, key things that need to change in order to get to a healthier place where we're able to have conversations like this without anybody on either side, whatever side that you're on, don't feel made wrong, blamed, shamed, any of those things? Because, I mean, we are in a place where, whether it's about gender or politics or any of those things, it's very polarizing.
Religion, yeah.
Yeah, it's very polarizing to the point where it's like, to get into the conversation means basically you're fight or flight. It's like you're going in.
Put your gloves on. Let's go, right?
Yeah, like I don't even know. Do they even have debate teams anymore? Because probably not. But
No, they're starting to bring back like certain people like debating college students, but it's it's handpicked people. What's the term? It's like the masses are asses. You know what I mean? So like you can speak to a crowd, and all it takes is one person in that crowd to react poorly, and the whole thing's gone. It's gone right down the wrong direction. But if you can speak to one person at a time and get them to open up, and instead of being so guarded and so strongly felt about their feelings, to understand a different point of view and be like, you know what? All right, I see your point of view. I don't agree with it, but that doesn't mean anything. It just means that we disagree. And disagreeing is okay. But with the world today, disagreeing basically means that you have a phobia. If I disagree with you, that means you hate me or I hate you. Or that means like I am phobic to you in some way. Are you a phobic to me in some way? And it's 100% inaccurate, and it's not right. It's like you could take, I hate to bring this up, I really do, but you could take the president of the United States for today's world. So many people hate him passionately. And when you go, okay, why do you hate him? And they will spit out a million reasons as to why they hate him. And it's like, okay, so let me ask you something. If he fixed all the world problems tomorrow and he turned out to be the best president in the world, they'd be like, oh, I'd still hate him. Do you see how that doesn't make sense? I understand that you have a passion and a hate to dislike someone, but if that person turns a corner and becomes this better person, but you just want to still hate them on principle, it's pointless. You're the one with the problem at that point. And I think that's literally what has been going on in every step of the way with every issue from the dawn of time is like, we want the general population to be at ends with each other. We want them fighting each other as much as possible, because that way there, as one nation, we can't become a stronger unity. And that's why like so many people nowadays, they will surround themselves only with people that think the way they think. And to me, that's very immature, that you can't spend time with people that think differently than you and just have a general conversation about anything.
Yes, 100%. It's like the world is so polarizing right now. It's you against me, me against you, versus, hey, we may agree to disagree, but I want to hear your opinion because I'm curious enough to know what makes you tick. Why are you, let's say, choosing this religion, choosing this government, choosing this person? Because I want to understand. I still might not agree with you at the end, but I still want that understanding because I want the same courtesy for understanding for me. But if we're never coming to the table and we're there just to convince others that I am right and you are wrong, that's where we are in the world right now. I'm right, you're wrong. If you don't believe what I believe, you are dimmy.
Yeah.
Like that's,
You're now the enemy.
you
And
are
that
now the enemy, like, you're with, yeah. So
people
it's
ask me all the
it's
time, and when I go live, people ask me all the time, oh, what are your thoughts on this person? What are your thoughts on that person? And my response is always the same. I'm like, I don't know that person. I might know of them because they're popular on social media or this, that, and the other thing. Well, what do you think about them? They did this, this, and that. I still don't know them. I don't have an opinion on them. And they're like, well,
yeah.
this person talks so much crap about you. That's nice. I don't know them. I'm not going to give you an point. Like, I can't give you an opinion on someone based on you telling me they talk crap about me. Like, it doesn't affect me in any way. And I would be happy to have a conversation with that person if they confronted me. But if they're not going to confront me, I don't care. And nor do I have the time in my life to put energy into that. People ask me all the time, what do you think about this person? She's constantly talking crap about you, and she hates your guts, and she thinks you're this and she thinks you're that. And I'm like, that's nice. Well, what do you think about that? You're just going to let her walk all over you? She's not walking all over me because what she's doing is not affecting me.
Yeah.
People can say what they want to say. Like, again, sticks and stones.
it's definitely interesting. I think a lot of this is driven by, like, my own opinion is the human condition to want to avoid discomfort. And
Yes.
so we don't like to face uncomfortable conversations generally about ourselves or our feelings, unless we are backed by community, unless we're backed by a large group of people that we feel will protect ourselves from having that feeling of being wrong, right? That I'm not enough. And so instead of being okay, standing alone and being, I'm just going to be curious about people, be curious about decisions and outcomes and things like that. We're quick to go, okay, well, to the left, we got a bunch of people that agree with us. And to the right, we got a bunch of people who disagree with this. Well, I don't agree and I don't disagree, but being by myself is really uncomfortable. So I'm going to pick a side,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so you pick, and then there's again that human condition to want to be a part of a team, right? We really want to be a part of a group of people, a community. So then we get a badge, and then we go, okay, well now that I've picked a team, maybe I don't agree with all of it, but I've picked this team now, and I don't want to get kicked out. So I'm going to go along, even if going along means I'm going to be silent most of the time, right? And that doesn't do us any service. I mean, I'm hearing that it seems like there's, like you said, a lot of people within the trans community that you're a part of that think the same way that you do, but they're quiet about it, and they have their reasons for it. Do you think that the people that are loud about it are actually more of a minority though? Or is it kind of like a 50-50?
Oh no, the people that are loud about, like, besides myself, and I know of two others that I would say they're open about it. They're not loud about it. I would definitely say I am the loudest out of all the ones that I know, and out of all the trans women that I found on the internet. I am the loudest about how I feel. I haven't met anybody any louder. I think that's why I've gotten so much attention. And even like there's two other trans women that I follow. They handle things with a much softer edge than I do, uh, because they're trying to be kinder. I'm just more about facts. Like, and someone reached out to me and said, oh, it's not this simple. And I was like, sure it is. It's this, this, and this. They're like, yeah, but it's really not that simple. And I spelled it out for them. I'm like, look, it's point A, B, C, and D. Simple, isn't it? And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess it is kind of simple. Yeah, it is. It's very simple. And people ask me all the time, it's like, well, like in one of my videos, my one video that went viral is when I said, if you're one of those people that think that trans women are women, you're part of the problem. I literally had a female client who had a daughter who was a biological man. And she's like, my daughter is a woman. I'm like, no, your daughter's a boy. She's 21 years old. She's a boy. She just identifies as a girl. And you sitting here saying that she is a woman, she is a woman, she is a woman. I said, that makes you part of the problem. You can support your daughter all you want, and that's a great thing to do. But telling her that she is something she's not, you're doing her a disservice. Now, I lost that client, and I'm fine with that, because to me, you're part of the problem. I have people that reach out to me all the time. They're like, you're such an amazing woman. And when they're going over the edge with, like, when I know what they mean, I'm just like, thank you. I really appreciate that. But when they're really going over the edge and being like, no, you're a woman. No, I'm not. I'm a biological man that wishes to God he was born a woman, but wasn't. So I'm a trans woman, not a woman. And what is the one thing that I have to be in order to be a trans woman? I have to have been born a man. What's the one thing a trans man has to be in order to be a trans man? They had to have been born a woman. Otherwise, they can't be that. It's that simple. I've told people before, like, everybody's actions have consequences. Like, you drink and you get in a car and you drive and you get into an accident, you're going to face the consequences. You decide you want to become a trans woman, you're not playing in sports anymore of the gender that you want to be. You can play in sports, but you're going to continue to play in male sports and suffer the fact that you're not going to do as good anymore because your hormones are lower, everything's changed, your strength has gone down, and that's just the end of it. Everything has consequences. Every choice that we do has consequences. Some of those consequences are great consequences. Some of them are not. But you make a decision in life, you have to deal with what comes with those decisions, and you have to be okay with it. It's so simple to me, and I think it's because I'm just a simple person. And I'll give you an example. So when I first met my ex-wife, I never had a Keurig before. And she brought a Keurig into the house and it stopped working. And I'm like, I can't get it to make coffee. And I'm texting her. And she's like, I told her there was a button on, it said it needed to be cleaned. And she's like, oh, it just has a self-cleaning thing. Do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, great. So I did this, this, and this. Nothing happened. It didn't work. And she's like, yes, it does. Do it again. I did it again. Still didn't work. She goes, well, you're clearly not doing what I told you to do. And so I sent back the text. This is what I did step by step, just what you said. And she goes, well, did you do this? I'm like, you didn't put it in there. That's the difference between how most male brains work versus how most female brains work. Females like to interpret things and try to figure out what is the meaning behind this. Whereas a male is just like, give me step 1, step 2, step 3, done. You know what I mean? It's, you want me to do this? Okay, I'm going to go do that. Yes. We are very, very simple people. And to me, when it comes, I applied that with my transition. I want this to be as smooth as possible. And I want it to be as true to myself as possible. And the only way I can be true to myself is to not lie to myself and pretend or tell myself that I'm something I'm not. You know, it's like one of my surgeries, when I woke up, I like to tease the anesthesiologist, because like they come to and they start asking you questions. What's your name? How old are you? Where were you born? This, that, and the other thing. And like sometimes they'll be like, what's your name? And I'll be like, I am Batman. And they're like, oh, okay, you're fine. It's a joke. You're kidding. So when you sit there and you tell yourself that you're a biological female when you're not, you're kidding yourself. You're giving yourself this disbelief of something that's not true. And what is wrong with being true to yourself? Why is that so wrong? Like, to me, I can't wrap my mind around it. I understand the concept of wanting to be the opposite sex that I was born, wanting to be the opposite gender, wanting to present this way, wishing that I was born this way. But I can also understand that it didn't happen. And in order for me to feel sane and to feel true to my own mind, I have to be able to accept that. And I don't understand how other people can't accept that.
What I love about that, I was just sitting in it. Then the lines get blurred in that whole question. What is a woman, right? And in sports and in bathrooms. We've had so many transgender women compete in women's sports and blowing everyone out of the water. And how fair is that? Women, we also were fighting for rights for so many years. I mean, it's only been, 50 years since we were able to vote or buy our own house or get a bank account without a man. And now I feel like we're losing a little bit of what it means to be a biological woman, because I still want to feel like I am a woman. We can celebrate trans women, trans men. We can celebrate men. We can say, Black people, white people, but I feel like sometimes, somewhere, the lines are becoming a little bit blurred. In school, a couple of years ago, I raised hell because we didn't celebrate Mother's Day. We had to celebrate Special Person Day. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I am not a special person. I can be special to you, but I am a mother. So where does it stop? I'm like, no, I can't be a mother. You're going to take over motherhood for me? That's what makes me a woman. And I want my children to always be their mother, right? So, like you said, we could celebrate everyone. But we do need to honor each, I feel, gender and transgender, and we can have space for everyone without taking away spaces for, I'm going to speak for myself, for women.
Yeah. So what a lot of that falls into, I think, is that where people basically feel like, oh, well, so basically what you're saying, in order for me to be accepted, I have to be passable. A lot of people get offended by that. And I'm like, no, you do. You have to be passable. If you want to be comfortable and have people around you feel comfortable about you walking into the women's room and being completely non-threatening and just going in and using the bathroom, washing your hands and leaving, you have to be passable. You can't go in there looking like your husband with the dress on and be like, I'm a trans woman, so I'm using this space. No, you're not passable. Whether you feel like you should be a woman or not, you're not at that stage. So when I was first going out in public, before I came out, I was going out in public anyway, dressed and presenting as a woman with friends and girlfriends and stuff like that. And if I had to go to the bathroom and I couldn't find a single stall bathroom, I would literally have my female partner, whether it was a girlfriend or an actual partner, like, can we go over to the bathroom together? Can you walk in there, see if there's anybody in there? And if there's nobody in there, can you come in there with me, stand at the sink so I can go in and go to the bathroom and then leave? So we can leave together. So that way I don't feel like I'm interrupting anybody or I'm making anybody feel uncomfortable. I would go through every little bit of caution to make sure that I wasn't making anybody feel uncomfortable, because I'm the different one. It's my job to make everybody around me feel more comfortable with my differences, not them feel more comfortable with me intruding on their space. So I went to last year, my daughter's school has a fundraising gala at the end of the year. And everybody there at this point now knows that, okay, Calliope's dad is a transgender woman. So I can't go to this big gala and hang out with these people and drink and dance and eat dinner and walk into the women's room. Like, it's not happening. So I called the facility ahead of time and I said, hey, I'm coming there for this school's function. Do you guys have a unisex bathroom that's nearby the function hall? And they're like, yeah, right outside. There's the male and female bathroom, and then directly across from that is a handicap bathroom. I was like, great, thank you very much. And I used that bathroom all night long. I didn't use any other bathroom but that bathroom. And I was smart enough to call ahead to make sure there was an ability for me to go to the bathroom without making the dads feel uncomfortable that there was someone presenting as a woman walking into the bathroom, or the moms feel uncomfortable with knowing that there's a biological man walking into that bathroom. So it's my job as the different one to make other people be okay with my presence. And the best part about that night was everybody in my daughter's class, the moms and the dads took separate pictures. All the dads took a picture. All the moms took a picture. When the moms took a picture, they all screamed my name. Like, come on, get over here, get in the picture. And I was like, okay. And then they walked away and they were like, all right, all the dads get in the picture. And I'm walking away. They're like, get back over here. You're basically both now. Come on, get back in this picture. And I was just like, I left that place in tears because I never thought that these people were going to be so kind to me at a Catholic school. And it was basically, I don't know if it was because of my internet presence and how I was, or it was just because I wasn't pushing myself on anyone, but they made me feel accepted both as a male and a female. And the only thing I can
Yeah, I
think
think
of, it was because I was respecting everybody's space.
That's definitely a great perspective. I think even if you go back to, because definitely when you're saying it's your job to make others uncomfortable, not uncomfortable, right? Because you're the different one. Automatically, I'm like, well, there's probably a lot of people in the trans community that think it's the opposite,
Absolutely.
right? That it's everyone else's job to not make them feel uncomfortable. And
I
you know,
think we could share in the responsibility. I think there could be a shared responsibility. But again, I think it all comes to dialogue and open conversations and not pushing one idea or ideology or prone or whatever on others. I feel with your situation, because you weren't forcing anyone, you weren't coming in demanding people treating you differently or talking, you were allowing them to choose how they wanted to accept you, and you were just showing up as you. I think that's such a beautiful thing. Like, I really commend you on that, because I was drawn to you on social because I'm like, man, like, if we had conversations like this, where we weren't feeling like people were pushing their ideas or whatever, we'd have a lot more understanding and compassion for each other and one another. And the world would be a greater place, a better place than what we're doing to it right now. We're swinging crazy one way right now. It's like you can't say anything, you can't look at anyone funny, you can't have your own opinion. You always have to look at, how do I make all these people comfortable? But then what about my comfort?
Exactly.
Nobody's asking me if I'm comfortable
yeah,
with all of the changes.
the focus is still out on the external, right?
Yeah.
I think sounds like for yourself going through this change, you did and probably still do a lot of the internal work so that you are one with yourself, you're whole, And so obviously there's a part of having your outside match your inside, but you did some inside work as well, where there's probably a lot of people that they want the outside to change so that they feel like they're enough, some version of accepted and enough. And unfortunately, without doing that internal work, you can have the entire world change the way that you want it, and you'll probably still
Mm.
have that void, right? It's no different why people will chase some form of status or wealth or whatever it is, title at a company, and they get it all, and they're still unhappy. They
Yep.
still have that piece of them that they feel that's missing, and we're still moving in that direction. Just it's in a different context right
Yeah. I mean,
now with gender.
yeah, it's the basic concept of addiction. So when people look at addiction and they think, like, when you mention addiction, people also almost instantaneously go to drugs and alcohol. But you can be addicted to a million things, and what you're addicted to is not the problem. So many people look at it like, well, I have an alcohol problem. No, you have an internal problem that you're using alcohol to cope with. Like, the addiction is your coping mechanism of whatever is wrong that you don't know how to fix, or you don't know how to address, or you don't know how to come to terms with. My entire time of determining whether or not I wanted to come out or not wanted to come out, I spent literally going down rabbit holes of just social media and, the worst website in the world, Reddit. Oh my God, I hate that website. So mean to everybody on that website. Is just like, you say one word out of context, and people jump down your throat like nobody's business. Somebody suggested I go on that website when I was trying to learn about transitioning. I was on there for like 2 weeks, and I was just like, I can't handle the negativity. It is just unbearable. But I went through this rabbit hole of just trying to understand everybody's perspective and how they saw things. And I took that and I was like, okay, now how can I make this better for myself? Because my journey is about me. It's not about every other trans person. It's not about the pride flag, the trans flag. It's not about my commitment to my trans. It's about me. And it's about, how am I going to affect the people around me, and how am I going to make it easier for them to understand where I'm coming from. So that's how I did my own internal work to get to where I'm at. And like, people ask me all the time, like, this is a good explanation. Like, they're like, well, what bathroom do you use? You better not use the women's bathroom. And okay, let me give you an explanation. Let me give you a scenario. I present 24/7 as a female. I am very much a girly girl. My nails are done, my makeup's done, my hair's done. And when I go out to dinner or whatever, like, I am wearing high heels, I'm wearing some nice pants or a dress or something like that. My makeup is done. I am 100% a girly girl. Now, you guys have daughters, but now let's imagine that you had a boy the same age. You take your boy and you two walk into the men's room, and you see me in there in a dress standing at the urinal taking a piss. Explain that one to your son. Maybe you have an 8-year-old son and you don't want to have the trans conversation with him just yet. But now, me being in the bathroom, you have to.
Mhm.
But if I walk into the women's bathroom the same way, I'm almost never seen, because I walk in, go into the stall, sit down, go to the bathroom, get out, wash my hands, and leave. But if you see me in there with your daughter and your daughter sees me, Mom, wow, she's big. And you'd be like, yep. You know, and you might be able to look at me and be like, yep, that's a trans woman. I know that that's a biological man. But as long as you play it cool and be like, yeah, honey, don't stare. It's impolite to stare. Come on, let's go. There's not an issue. You don't have to have the trans conversation. You can just be like, yeah, that was a really big woman in the bathroom. Like, that's all. And the funny thing is even before my surgeries, anytime that I had no choice but to, and I've damn near peed myself trying not to use a women's room. Okay. At first, I would like literally keep a Gatorade bottle in my truck and run out to my truck to go to the bathroom if I had to, if there was no choice, because I was just afraid to go in a men's room and insult a man and his son. But when it got to the point where, like, because I was cordial, because I was in and out and did my business, women would stop and talk to me. Women would have normal conversation. They'd compliment me on my hair, on my shoes, on my pants, on my dress, my nails, whatever. It was a normal conversation. Nobody cared because I didn't make a big thing out of it. I didn't make a stink. I didn't go in there and walk into the bathroom and close the stall door and stand and pee, because that's kind of a dead giveaway. Like, women don't stand to pee, like, you do everything you can to play the role so that way no one's uncomfortable. And now I have numerous people in my lives and on social media that I would welcome you in the bathroom with me and my kids any day of the week. I'm totally feel fine with you being there. Not an issue. And in the grand scheme of things, way back in the day, there was no such thing as a male-female bathroom. It was just one bathroom with stalls, and that was it. So I grew up building hot rods and racing cars and straightaways down the dragway. And you go to big events like that, and you're going to see women come running into the men's room to go to the bathroom because the line for the women's room is too damn long.
I've done it. I'm gonna say I've done it. I'm like, I'm walking in, I announce myself, I come in, I'm like, there's no way in heck, there's nobody in there. I'm just coming in. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
it's really like if we can all be and agree to be just normal, civilized humans, there is no need for any of this drama. But the problem is you have those people, and you have the people that'll just jump up and be like, well, you're a pedophile or you're a groomer or this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, when people come at me like that, I just look at them and I'd be like, you do realize that the percentage of pedophiles and the percentage of people that hurt children, I said, is highest right inside the home. I'm like, do your research. You as a parent or you as an uncle are more likely to hurt in a sexual manner the child than I am. That's statistically speaking. So before you go and say, and it's like people like, oh, we need to ban all this and this, that, and the other thing. And are you religious? Do you still take your child to church? Well, what about all the priests that were, convicted of child molestation and stuff like that? Like, I mean, if you're going to damn everyone, you can't just be like, what's the hot topic for today? Who are we going to prosecute today? Who are we going to make an example of today? And that's what the world is. They're consistently looking for who is the next person we're going to make a spectacle out of and deem them as bad.
I think most people, most human beings wake up. They don't wake up with the intention of being impolite, right? They generally are
You
gonna
don't
be
wake up and
kind.
be like, I'm gonna fuck someone's day up today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be kind. They're gonna be polite. If we treat people with kindness and politeness to begin with, right? Even someone in your position, you start with that. There's a very high chance that that's what you will receive. Even if in the receiving that, maybe it's something that makes you feel a little uncomfortable because they're curious, right? And like you said, it's, you're different. And if I respond kind of differently to you than I would, a biological male or female, it's only just because, this is different, right? And so, but I'm not disrespecting you. It's just, maybe it's awkward, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
But our brains are pre-wired to always look for what's wrong, because that's how we always kept safe, is that if we find what's wrong, if we can find where the risk is, then we can prevent bad things from happening. And so now we live in a world where that still exists. And so even though we may wake up, as you said, not wanting to fuck someone's day up, our brain is wired to look for what's wrong or what's different and then respond to that in a way. And so I mean, I really appreciate what you're doing, because regardless of whether people agree with what you're saying or not, you're creating a space where it's okay to have a conversation about this, to have a difference of opinion. It doesn't seem like you are shutting people down for not agreeing with you. You are allowing them to engage in conversation and have dialogue about it. And that's what this world is, needs more of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your message. I just really resonated with, you having a voice and speaking your truth. And I think we all need a little bit more Daviana in our lives. So thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
They can find me on TikTok as the Common Sense Life Coach. They can find me on Instagram as Daviana, the one and only.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Yeah, until next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights to elevate your life and business.
If you found value in our conversation, spread the love. Share this episode with family and friends, and let's grow this supportive community together.
And don't forget to like and follow us so we can reach more amazing people just like you.
Until next time, remember, let's not sugarcoat it. Keep it real, raw, and unfiltered.